Welcome everybody to another live stream. Today we are doing a rental analysis. This is a spreadsheet that I wasn't always enthused about sharing because there's a relative amount of complexity to it, but I got excited to share it because I thought I would try it. At the in-person crash course this last Saturday, which you know how to get to the crash course list. The next stop Chicago, then we've got like Atlanta and San Fran after that, in Austin, Texas. So be sure to join me at those. But I tried the spreadsheet out in person, and I guess it was simple enough to where it made the impact. So I thought, you know what? Let's go ahead and share it on our investing live stream here. And it could probably be a course on its own, but I thought, hey, if you're here during the live stream as well, maybe you get the benefit of asking me some questions as well, and we'll kind of see how it is. Just because it's a little complicated, a lot of folks have been asking me, Kevin, why don't you use a spreadsheet? Why don't you use a spreadsheet? And I'm still to this day anti using spreadsheets on a regular basis. I'm a big fanatic for doing what I call napkin math. That is being able to no matter what property you're analyzing, do the math based on your gut check, your napkin math. And if you're going to use a spreadsheet, you're really just using it as a tool to help make your math a little bit easier. For example, if you're calculating cap rate or whatever, it's just easier to just quickly do the math on a spreadsheet that you can make or custom make every single time you make a new one. So without further ado, let us get into the actual spreadsheet here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to I've structured this on purpose in a certain way to be a negative cash flow. And let me just say, I want to start specifically with this negative cash flow example and ask questions here on the live. I'll be watching and we'll respond to the questions here. But I want to start with a negative cash flow on purpose to show you how powerful real estate can be, on one hand. And on the second hand, hopefully you recall that what do we regularly say in the course? We say if you put down less than 20 or 25%, you're probably going to have a negative cash flow if you go to rent it out right away without living there for a year or two and making some improvements. So let's go ahead and do this scenario. And let's assume, because a lot of people are looking at how to get started, and we're going to go ahead and do that with this. And then we're going to go into our Discord and do some deal analysis. So we won't spend all morning on this. We'll answer some questions after this, hit some general topic questions in the Discord as well, and then go into some actual deal analysis content. But let's just hit it. So it should be kind of interesting. So here we go. All right, we'll put me right there. So here we go. Let's say you got a $250,000 purchase price. Ignore this green part about net wealth invested. That's part of one complicated part. It's just it's not needed for this example though. You're going to put 10% down. That means you have a loan amount of 225. We should all know that. We've watched the lectures on how to calculate loan amounts and how to do this. It's obviously just a $25,000 down payment. Let's say your closing costs are $8,000 and you're going to spend 30 grand in fix up. That means you've invested $63,000, which, just a quick note, a lot of people in the course, they say, hey, how do I start with plus or minus 50K? This is a good example because you can do this by replacing your landlord, right? All right, let's pop back over. All right, so back over here. Let's say your interest rate, this is going to be with mortgage insurance, is 4.5%. You got $2,000 as projected rents for the property when you go rent it out eventually. Remember, at first you got to live there. So your principal and interest payment, 1140. That's broken down into, remember your PITI. We always use principal, interest. Principal being about $300, interest about $843, taxes about, this is a little high. Taxes should be about, on $250,000, honestly, taxes, we're probably going to be somewhere around $300 on this. There we go. Insurance, $70. HOA dues. Let's go and say this is going to be a condo. You're going to start with a condo on this property because it's, you're just getting started and you're not ready for a single family house yet. Some people make this comment that, oh, well, single family houses or units are always better than condos. To me, there's really no difference. To me, they all appreciate together at the same rate. So if you want to start with units, you can do the same math on a 4-plex, on a 10-plex, doesn't matter. We're just going to assume this is a single unit condo right now. All right, so in that case, we're gonna have some HOA dues. We'll say it's $300. We'll say the property management on this is gonna be about 7%. So let's just go with $170 for property management. And the reserves you're gonna put aside, it's a smaller condo townhouse, go with $150. Okay, cool. So we've got total expenses here, or you know what? Because I want this to be negative, let's just bump this a little bit. Let's just put this at, you know what? 400 bucks. There we go. So your total expenses on the deal are 200 or $2,200. Oh wait, hold on. What do we say the rent was? Oh, the rent's 2,000. Oh, good. We were already negative. Good. That's what I want. I purposefully want a little bit of a negative here. So, all right. Let's just regroup quickly where we are, and then we're going to get into the really interesting part here. So, right now we know we've got. Thanks, by the way, Lance, for the okay there. Right now, we know that we have a negative cash flowing deal of what, about $130. We've got ourselves a condo that we started with. We put 10% down. So, what does that mean? It means we were able to take advantage of 30-year fixed rate financing. It means, now we're controlling $250,000 worth of real estate, and we've got a roof over our heads. We're no longer paying a landlord, and hopefully we're house hacking. If this is a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, maybe you're renting out one of the rooms for 800 bucks or 1,000 bucks or something, and you're really offsetting a good amount of your rent. You get a 3 and 2, you can do this even more gloriously. All right, let's bump back over here. Make a quick note here. Depreciation is not going to be an actual expense for you. It's a paper expense. Always consult a CPA on anything that I talk about here with taxes. You should know I'm not a CPA by now. I think I say that all the time. Okay, so let's see. I can't zoom in anymore, but oh well. So let's get into this right here and see how this looks. So the rent is $2,000. The expenses are $2,130. That means you have a negative cash flow of 130 bucks. Now let's jump on over here and just look at your tax benefits for a second. Let's go ahead and say your marginal rate is 40% there. Not 30%, that's 40%. Okay, so let me explain how this works. You have a total set of deductions of $2,364. So let me just highlight what those deductions are. This is when you go to rent out the property. It's going to be different when you live there. When you rent out the property, you get to write off TIMR, right? Taxes, insurance, maintenance, management, utilities, reserves, plus depreciation and interest. So you can see we've got all of those expenses highlighted here. And that all totals up to $2,364 in deductions. Now, you have to pay taxes on the income you get, so you offset the income you're getting. And then you're going to have a leftover sort of real estate loss. Now, there are limitations to how much money you could lose in real estate, but your goal is not to have negative cash flows all the time. Your goal is to have cash flowing properties. The cool thing is about owning something like this, you live there for a year, you fix it up a little bit, rents go up. Over time, you're not actually going to have this $130 negative cash flow anymore. You bump the rent 30, 40 bucks a year, it's going to go away. Over time, even though you put down 10%, it will convert to a cash flow. If you want cash flow today, it's no problem. Do what the commercial real estate investors do. Put down 25, 30, 40%. All right, less the tax deduction. We've got $364 as a tax deduction. Your marginal tax rate, let's assume it's 40%. Let's say you're making $100,000. Your next $1,000 you earn based on state taxes, Fed taxes, all combined, might be somewhere around $400 in extra taxes that you're paying. So now that says, based on taxes, you're saving about $145 per month from taxes. Those are actual net savings there. So now we could take this cash flow of negative 130, offset it by 145 in tax benefits. Okay, cool. So now we're basically a break-even deal. And remember, we've got vacancy and repairs and management and all these things considered. Now remember, the tenant is paying off this loan for you, this $225,000 loan. At some point, you own the property free and clear. So this changes your net worth. It's not really cash flow. It's what I call a change to your net worth analysis. So now you have, you add in principal pay down. You're at a positive net worth increase of about $3,600 per year, right? That's $311 times 12. So we get a lot of folks that oftentimes, and I get this in real estate all the time, house hacking for the win, absolutely. I get this in real estate all the time. I will go to people and I'll say, hey, why are you thinking about selling? Why don't you just rent the property? And they'll say, oh, well, I did the math and I'd be $100 negative if I rented it out. I go, well, wait a minute. You're about to pay 8%-ish in selling costs with fix up and all that, and you're worried about $100 per month. Let's look at the other benefits, right? The tax benefits, the principal paydowns. And all of a sudden, when we look at that kind of analysis, we're like, oh, that $100 a month. I mean, really, how much is that, right? So let's take a look at that again. Let me just put that into perspective here. Watch this. $134. What is $134 times 12? Well, let's do it really quick. 130 times 12. What do we got? $1,560. $1,560 of a loss. Are you going to go bankrupt because you have to pay $1,560 per year? If that's going to make or break it, you shouldn't be owning real estate, right? But in most cases, it's not. So here's the most interesting bottom line I really want to get to. I hope all of you really learn from this because it's fascinating to me. So remember, you put down 10%. Well, there's a special thing that happens when we start calculating your wealth potential. So this is what I call your change to wealth. And this $3,600, this is the monthly figure. I got to change that, but I'm too lazy to do it. This is the monthly figure. When we annualize it, it's about $3,600 a year. Your return on your investment, your return to wealth, it's not really the cash on cash return. Your return to wealth is $3,600 on the $63,000 you spent, is about 5.94%. That's simple, right? We get that, we see it. It's not actually real cash flow, but our wealth is increasing by that amount every single year. That's not, I don't really care about the cash flow in this example, mostly because when I flip the script and I go, okay, so say it was a 2,000 or a $2,400 a year cash flow or a $3,600 a year cash flow, it's really not going to make that big of a difference. Here's what makes the massive difference when it comes to investing in real estate. Watch this. Let's put in 1% real estate appreciation. Look at that. With 1% real estate appreciation on that $250,000 condo, your wealth increases by now 9.9%. And this is on your original $63,000, right? Now you flip the script again and you go, okay, well, what are some long run historic averages for real estate appreciation? Maybe 3 to 4%. What do we get when we add in 3%? Look at that. I mean, it just gets ridiculous the amount of wealth you can create with real estate. It's insane. Maybe one day I got to figure out how to make this into. Oh, did I forget to screen share? I totally forgot to screen. Here, sorry, folks. There you go. So you just got to listen to me say that for a second. So here you go. That's that $3,600, that 5.94%. Here's that 1% appreciation built in. If we add that 3%, look at that, 17.85%. Now, this is really just to give you an example here of the power of real estate, and it gets ridiculous. Like if I keep scrolling down, it really just gets ridiculous because look, you add 5% appreciation, or you're in a crazy market or whatever, your wealth potential goes nuts. There's a simple reason for this. The simple reason for this is when you own real estate, and you leverage into real estate, you're able to control massive amounts of money with very little amounts of money. I mean, ask yourself this. Would you rather, and I've done this analysis in my head before, I think to myself, would I rather, let's say I had $10,000 right now, and I had the choice. Should I go buy a house with 3.5% down? It's a $200,000 place or whatever, and I'm going to put a nominal amount of money down. Does it make more sense for me to invest $10,000 into my own real estate investment, or should I just go put that into a fund, like an index fund, or some kind of other investment? Well, I've not only thought of that example, I've lived that example. So get this. When we bought our first house, we put 3.5% down. Foreclosure, fixer-upper, didn't have a kitchen, the bank financed the remodel, and what happened? We took a $300,000 house. We probably spent, somewhere between $70,000 to $80,000 on it. Now it's worth $600,000. And if we were to sell it, let's say we'd profit somewhere around $200,000, maybe $225,000, depending on principal pay down over that time frame and all that stuff. So all of a sudden, we turned $10,000 into, let's just say, $200,000 over what, 9, 10 years or whatever. Now I'm gonna flip the script and say, let's say I took that $10,000 and invested it into an S&P 500 fund, and I tripled my money. I could go to a party and go, I'm the best investor in the world. I tripled my money. I turned $10,000 into $30,000. Well, congratulations. You got $30,000. Nobody really cares. On the flip side, I took that $10,000 and used real estate and that the conventional forms of financing that exist in America and turned it into $200,000. So there's the power of real estate for you. I think this is probably honestly, this should be like lecture 1.0 on the course, this first part. But oh well, so thank you for this part. Now let's hopefully you appreciated that. Let's now jump into some Discord questions and see what kind of objections we have for real estate. So I love responding to your questions here in real estate. And we're going to go ahead and start in the general section right now we're going to start with BG's question. So I'm going to share the screen with you here. Let's move over. All right, there we go. Thanks for the help there, Lance. Okay, so BG, first question is, anyone wants to weigh in on modern contemporary rehab designs? So very interesting. Basically, BG is about to buy a house and he's wondering, how much should I spend on making the house very nice and possibly, spend more at every decision that I make. And also feels like I'm shooting ahead of the, running deer, so to speak. So here's something very important to keep in mind when you're doing renovations. Well, let me just say really quick, I'm responding at, what am I responding at? At BG, responding at, sorry, I got to move this laptop to a better spot. 1544. Okay. So here's the thing. When you're doing these renovations, it's I get what BG is saying. BG is asking the question, should I shoot ahead of the running deer and come up with a design that I think is going to last a longer time, but that's possibly going to be more expensive? It depends on the area you're in. If you're in an area like San Francisco, where the contemporary design is currently what all the flippers and everybody wants in that area, then maybe that's what you have to do. But if you're trying to shoot ahead of the running deer, because contemporary usually implies a little bit more like custom, like, oh wow, that's like sometimes associated with fancy. Like there's modern being kind of what's in right now and what's typical. That's like your edgecomb gray, your luxury vinyl plank, the white baseboards, the white or gray kitchen, right? That's modern. And then you got contemporary. And that's where we start seeing like sometimes extravagances that are not only more expensive, but more custom. You have to analyze your market. You ask yourself, what is the median in my area? What is everybody else doing? If nobody else is doing contemporary stuff, do not shoot ahead of the running deer because the odds are you're going to miss. I would rather shoot this slow moving turtle, because that's really what real estate is. It's a slow moving turtle. And I mean, I'd rather not shoot a turtle, but you know what I mean. I'd rather shoot a slow moving turtle and hit them dead on, and milk that design for 10 to 15 years than speculate and miss and spend more money. I don't like spending more money on renovations. Deal Done had an interesting response here. He says there's something about, yeah, Justin, I can make this spreadsheet available for us. So what I'll do is I'll post this live stream as a teachable lecture under the live stream section, and I'll put a bunch of stars in it or something, and I'll just attach it there. Okay, so the other question here was, okay, I was reading something on hardening rental properties to help insulate them a bit more from a recession. That is, the concept is you upgrade your property to attract A renters in a downturn. It will still be attractive to people that are now A minus B plus renters, but still want that lifestyle. And I get that lifestyle element. You just have to ask yourself, what is normal in the area? I think the same thing applies. I get what you're saying here. I will always resort back to what's normal in the area. All right, another question here. I'm new to the course. Previous to this course, I knew nothing about real estate. I've never owned a home. I'm in the process of saving for a down payment to purchase a first home. I've been through about 20% of the course. I want to introduce myself. Welcome. Let's see. Welcome. Awesome. Okay, great. I will fix that, Mimosa. Thank you for saying that. Okay, next. And then we'll get into some deal analysis here too. Remember in our last lecture, we talked about Christian Ball here, who might be losing out on about $3,000 or $4,000 because of the way his contract was written to not ensure that he was able to use all of his closing costs prior to closing. So watch that last lecture. That's some really good advice there for you to be careful of when you're buying. The short of it is, don't get more credits than you have expenses. All right. So this is another good question here. Here's the thing. Basically, there's something known as impounds. Impounds are when you buy a property, you pay your mortgage, which is principal and interest. But if you take impounds, you also, in that same statement, pay insurance and property taxes. The problem is, you really only get that opportunity when you get the loan. After you have the loan established, you usually don't get the opportunity to set up impounds. So I usually recommend you get impounds. It's not worth trying to play with the money yourself and then have these big bills come up every 6 months. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. So the question here from Deal Done, does anybody know somebody that does impounds? Answering in live around, what are we in, 18 min. My opinion is probably not, because people don't really make money off running impound accounts. The servicing companies make money off collecting mortgage payments. and they happen to add this extra service of doing impounds. But I've never actually found a company that does impounds after the fact. So another question here, thinking about doing a cash out refinance on my primary residence. My credit took a hit because I got sick last year and some mortgage lates. Was wondering if you could look at the numbers, let me know what you think. I'm not too keen on the 2.75 points the lender is trying to charge me. Is that a deal breaker? Oh, that's always a funny picture when it does this. I don't really care if you guys see this. There we go. Okay. Uh what you'll find about me is anything could look embarrassing and I just laugh at it. So, that's probably because of my childhood. So let's look at this here. Benefits of your loan. Thanks for applying for Home Promise. $700,000 loan amount, 30-year fixed. First, principal and interest payment is $32.92. Taxes and insurance, $472. That's low, man. Low for taxes. So maybe you've owned this property for a while. What do we got here? We will pay the following balances for you. Oh, these are the existing debts on your current property. New payments, old payments. Wait a minute. This is interesting. What is this? Is this like a debt consolidation loan? Wow, this is going to be this is a hold on. APR, total interest paid. This is interesting. Pay off our mortgages on our property, pay off other debt, pay off other purchases. Seriously, okay, this is your actual credit report. So, let's see here. Okay, you already went through. Oh, your score is 666. That's hilarious. Not saying it's like low. Don't worry, you can still get financing with that. I just think it's hilarious that that's actually what it is. So, okay. So what do we have? This is just your loan app. We don't really care about that. Okay. So you're doing a cash out refinance. I get it. You have an existing loan of 345. Now you're gonna have a loan of 700 grand, which means the property's worth that. You're basically wrapping in all of these debts into your property. It's not, I mean, it's not what I recommend you do with real estate, but honestly, you're paying off a $2,500 credit card. That's good. You're paying off a Navy Federal credit line. You're paying off another credit union, $84,000 loan. It's not bad, especially since these payments are pretty high. This is going to reduce your monthly payment burden, I believe, which is not bad. I just want to find this point issue that you're running into. See, remember what you should really watch the point lectures. So your existing is a 3.25. You're going to go to a 4.125. So yeah, the reason you're getting charged so many points is because honestly, with the 666 credit score, you probably should be paying a rate of closer to 4.625. And then you won't have to pay those points. Now, usually with a VA loan, you get to do what's known as you could take some of your closing costs and just put them into the loan. If you can do that, this might not be a bad deal for you. So if you take that 2.75 points, you put it into the loan, it might not be a bad deal. Now, keep in mind as well, unless you're a disabled veteran, you have something known as a VA funding fee. Let me see if that's here. Unless that's already built, that's actually possibly already built into your loan. Let's look at this. See, here is your, this is your loan app. Okay, the loan app's actually giving us some details here. So usually I like finding the closing disclosure, but that's not here. So let's throw me back up here. What do we got here? Refinance, estimated prepaid items, closing costs, mortgage and funding fee. The VA funding fee is zero. So you might possibly be qualifying as a disabled vet then. So in that case, this is what you're complaining about, is that $19,250. It's high. And the only reason it's that high is because you're getting a very low interest rate for the credit you have. So what I would do is watch those point lectures like crazy and evaluate, do I need to have a 4.125 or am I still going to qualify? Am I comfortable with like a 4.625? And maybe you don't have to pay that much in points. That's what I would consider in your situation. All right. As far as let's see. So Striker, where did we reply here? We just responded. Let's see here. We responded at about 24. Sorry, give me 1 second. Mr. Striker responded at around 22 minutes in. Remember, folks, when you ask a question, I try to tag you in the live stream, so that way, if you're not here while it's live, you can go back and reference it. So Deal Done had a question about creative solutions for the tenant. I like the answers the other people gave you. I'm going to stick with that. Let's jump on over to renovations. I'm going to make a quick note here. Renovations, there was a question here about should you float floor or do stick floor? So along that same line, I'm not a big fan of doing things that aren't easily going to be changeable in the future. because designs and trends change. This is why I don't like to overspend on flooring. I'd rather get my luxury vinyl plank for $1.99 a foot, have it put in. It's a floating floor. If in 15 years the designs change, it could go in there and take it out and throw some new down really fast. Now, my hope is that I don't have to, that I picked something a little bit more timeless, so it's still going to cost me money, and ideally I don't. But who knows? You know what? Maybe it lasts me 30 years. Great. But I don't know. I've never been a fan of the stick. It's easier for contractors to install, and I think that's why they push it. I've always been hesitant. Not sure why, really. Maybe I'm wrong. Some people say stick is easier to replace. I don't know. All right, so let's get into deal analysis here, and let's see if you guys have any questions here in the live. Yeah, okay, JD's here. What's up, man? My dad, after a divorce, had to declare BK to rebuild his credit quick. He bit the bullet and paid maybe 5% interest above standard, mid 90s, but it was worth it. 2 years later, he sold that cheap condo and was able to have a good credit score by then. That's exactly right. See, the thing is, it doesn't really matter what your credit score is, especially if you can get a good deal or you're buying in an appreciating market like your dad was able to here. Now, some of these things you can't predict, but there's so many benefits of real estate that, so what if you have to pay a little bit more in the interest rate? Oftentimes, it's just not that big of a penalty. Obviously, the ideal is you have the 740 plus credit score, but I'm not going to tell somebody with a 700 not to buy a house because they don't have a 740. It's just not that big of a difference. I think we place more emphasis on it than we really should in our culture. All right, JD, since you're here, I don't have to tag you in this. We're looking at your deal on deal analysis. Let's see what we got. Oh, and I do have one more question. I actually posted. I want to answer Pete's question. Pete's question here. I'm gonna do JD's deal here, and then we'll answer Pete's question. Okay. So what do we got? I'm very tempted by this deal. It's in foreclosure with the auction to be set up next month. It's on the market, and I'm thinking of taking a tour with my realtor. Definitely go take a tour. Always tour this stuff because that way, when it sells, you get to see what somebody else did if you didn't buy it. With the sale of my old home in Loveland, I just checked, cleared 204K cash on hand, which is a hair more than what it seems to be the loan on default for. Okay, so let's see what you got. Estimated resale value, estimated opening bid. Okay, yeah, I mean, look, I'm all for you going in for this auction, but it's an in-person auction. It's going to be cash only. It's occupied, so you're probably going to be dealing with an eviction. This is probably going to sell for a lot more than 204. Title info. Oh, good. They actually gave you some stuff. Well, that's nice. Usually they don't. I don't really care to look at that right now because it's kind of boring. You can look at it. Let's look at what's more important, which is some comp value here. So this is showing up as a 5-bedroom, 2-bath. Wait, it's showing up for sale. Is this a short sale here? I bet you this is a short sale listed here, unless this is the reserve price. This could be the reserve price. So look at this. They put it on auction.com for bidding of 150, but they actually have it listed on the MLS, so it syndicates to Zillow for 489. That's probably their reserve price, what they're trying to actually get for the property. That makes sense. Vintage, diamond in the rush. And that's the problem with these cash-only deals on auction.com. Look at that. No pictures at the inside because it's occupied. Be careful. This is going to get bid up a lot. So, and look, don't get me wrong. I'm all for, buying auctions. I love that this has like 3 acres. It's a lot for a tenant to maintain, but it's pretty cool. So let's zoom in a little bit here and see what we got. Oh, comps are going to be a nightmare, aren't they? Let's see what we got. Yeah, they are. Okay, when I see a property like this and all my comps are like way around in other places, it's really difficult to run comps. Now, I'll make it not difficult by just doing what I could probably have drawn that line a little better. That's good enough. All right, it doesn't have to be perfect. Let's see what we can get. So your deal is 2,060 square feet. So what do we want to do? Well, we're going to go, 1,700 to 2,300 here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, you got all your comps down there. When was your unit built? Yours was built in 1961, okay. And what was the square footage again? The 2,060. Okay, great. So now let's look at some of your recent solds. Newest. Yeah, I like that. Newest is good. So what do we got here? We got a sale over here that's about 2,200 square feet more. Doesn't have the land. Oh, so that's why you got 3 acres is because you're all the way up here alone. These are the tract homes that don't have acreage. But as you could see, even these tract homes without acreage are selling for 451. So you know there's no way this thing's going to sell for under 2. Look at this. Here's a same square footage property for sale for 525. Look at that. Nice remodel. You got the luxury vinyl plank, the white kitchen, the neutral mosaic, the nice hardware, nice decking. This is a nice lot, nice and this is beautiful. Look at that. Great job on the bathroom. I mean, really, here's like an example of almost a model home for you, right? And it's for sale for 525, hasn't even sold yet, which is a little bit of a bummer. It's a newer property. I would keep an eye on this. This is a really good comp, but it doesn't consider your lot. Your lot is going to be, it's going to take more than what we can do on this live stream to find a comp for your lot. I might have to go up here. Let's do that really quick. Let's see, what's this 516? 2000, see, but this is a 2017. Okay, but this is better. See, 1.48 acres. It's a little bit smaller by 60 square feet, and it sold 2 years ago for 515. So maybe yours is going to be worth fixed up closer to 600K. In which case, you probably don't want to spend more than 425, 450. Keep in mind, these auctions usually charge you an auction fee of like 5%. So be careful because 5% it adds up fast. I mean, that's another 22 grand, right? So yeah, watch it. I like it. I would be tempted to go look at it too, although I don't think you're going to be able to look at it if it's an occupied property. So things to keep in mind. Now, let's do the question I promised to answer here. Oh, wait, hold on. You got some more comments here. I was hoping to get it for only about 200K. Look, if you can get it for 200K, by all means, buy it. And if it goes to 205, call me because I will buy it for 205. I just don't know if it's going to happen. So it would be my new primary. Okay, Derek's first stream. Welcome. I've been able to attend in the last couple of weeks. I put an offer for 200K on that foreclosure in Tampa we analyzed, but they accepted another offer. No problem, Derek. You know what? Keep going. Do what I always say. Next. There'll be another one. The house I posted in chat Tuesday in Downers Grove, are you able to verify to see if it's priced correctly? Or is that, Frank, I feel like we analyzed that was your listing, right? I feel like we analyzed that in the last one. Check if I did. Okay, so let's look at Pete's question here, okay? So this is interesting because I like what Pete's doing. So we're going to tag Pete really quick. Pete, I don't think I can tag Pete. Pete, I don't know if you're in the right Discord, but whatever. I'll answer his question. I'll send him the link. We'll get him set up. Pete's having trouble with the Discord. So Pete says, here we go. My wife and I purchased in San Francisco. See, I had to post his thing here because he's actually also in the I'm Over It tour right here. And he posted his question there. So I moved it over in case you're wondering why I posted it here. My wife and I purchased in San Francisco for $943,000 in 2014 using a VA loan. That's awesome. We added 2 beds, 2 baths, and began renting it out. Since then, the value has increased. And by 2016, the value is about 1.3. It's probably worth a lot more now. You did a rate reduction. You pulled out cash and bought your second property. Now you Airbnb the first, and you cash flow around 4K a month, but your PITI is about 6K. I'm assuming you live in this one. Because over here you say you bought this other property, and here you have your second property for $825. You added 2 bedrooms and a bath. You rent it out to students. PITI is 4K, but you receive 7K in rents. Great. So basically, we're house hacking with our Airbnb. Okay, so you live in the place that has the Airbnb in the back. Great. And your rental. We want to purchase another property. The question is, what should we do? Yeah, by the way, New York was great. Thanks for asking. So I don't know how to run the numbers on multiple homes. Should we invest elsewhere, like in Ventura? So here's what my opinion would be. I think you're doing a great job investing where you are. You live in San Francisco. You have control over the unit in your back that you're Airbnb-ing. You're kicking butt, cranking dough on your second rental property. I would look for more properties like that. If you could get around the Berkeley area or gentrifying areas of Oakland, that's probably the furthest I would go because I'm not a fan of long distance investing. Why? You can't jump on good deals fast. It's impossible to even be considered a legitimate investors by some agents because when you're out of the area, people will favor local investors. They feel like local investors have a reputation to protect. This is why when I invest in real estate and I make offers, I always I don't ask for repairs because I always want people to know, Kevin, you know what? He said he wasn't going to ask for repairs. We gave him the deal and he didn't ask for repairs. That's always at least the way I play it, just because I say that up front. So, to me, I wouldn't worry about investing elsewhere. I would find yourself, and we've analyzed plenty of San Francisco deals in this, course on the live streams. There are opportunities for you to get into deals that need some work, that need some fixing up. You can buy wedge deals, watch the lectures on wedge condition, wedge rent, whatever. Find something like that and keep doing what you're doing because honestly, you're killing it. You're doing a great job with what you're doing. You're living on $3,000 per month because the Airbnb, no, even probably less, because the Airbnb is creating so much money for you. You keep getting lower interest rates, and you basically did the BRRRR method to pull out money and buy another property that's now cash flowing 3 grand in San Fran. I mean, it's insane. You probably got a little bit of, you got some headaches that you have to work with. Airbnb is, management intensive sometimes. Depends on, you live there, so it's not really that hard. And dealing with student rentals can sometimes be a little bit more unique and drama filled, but you get compensated with more money. And if you're comfortable doing that, and obviously seems like your experience, I would invest where you have a competitive advantage, and that is right where you are. So there's your answer, Pete. All right, what else we got? Yeah, but the price. Oh, okay. Okay.